reason for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yo, the discussion is definitely going to be robust tonight. Yo, Code Keepers. I got my man Dan Trez Omi back on the platform. Honored.
Yes, sir.
Honored. From the Where My Killer Tape At podcast.
Sir.
Yo, how many episodes and seasons do you have now, bro?
I'm in season 8. Episode I just did episode 145 was about the Woman King. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my good brother, my other good brother from another mother, Minister Zumbi Shawala. How you doing, good bro?
Peace.
Okay. So Code Keepers, we're going to talk about Wakanda Forever. We're going to talk about the Woman King. And I know you're thinking, what's this have to do with empowerment? That's simple. What's this have to do with Black empowerment? Stay tuned. All right. Welcome to Get On Code, the Fly Guy Show, which is a series of melanated conversations focused on empowerment, health, wealth, and knowledge of self.
People think in binary choices because they are conditioned to.
And on the wall was a picture of a wolf and a lion. I think the wolf was the Democratic Party, the lion was the Republicans.
But the drug trade and all these illegal stuff that people do, that's still economics. It's just that they couldn't do it in a traditional system.
We're talking about melanated wealth.
So we can build wealth, but we just, for some reason, don't seem to be able to transfer it.
You had a great experience. Fine. That means nothing.
What were you told as a child about education? You had to be how many times better?
Every impression without an expression becomes depression.
Word up. Empowerment forever. Wakanda forever. Yeah. Black Fist forever. Hey, Co-Keepers. I got my man Dan Trez. I got Minister Zumbi. And we're going to jump right on into it. I mean, because these brothers were just going off. Wakanda forever. The Woman King. Where's the empowerment message? What's all the hidden jewels? And hey, just to let you know, Dan Trez already notified me. This is a spoiler-filled episode. I say it right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. It's a spoiler-filled episode of Get On Code as we're dealing with Wakanda Forever and the Woman King. Hopefully, you've seen both of them.
Yes, I've seen both of them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen me. You tuned in. I went to see Woman King in the theater. Matter of fact, because of Woman King, I took up the rope dart. So now I'm working on mastering the rope dart because of the Woman King. So yeah, that scene where she tells her mom. When she tells her mom, "Hey, hold on, I got these two white dudes right here." She takes out the rope dart and she's choo. I was like, you know what? I'm taking up the rope dart. So I made one. I made a practice one, and I've been working on it Monday through. I got with my students and I said, "Hey, this is my SMART goal for the month of November. I'm going to practice Monday through Friday, and I'm going to learn that rope dart. I'll be just as nice as the sister in the movie." So yeah.
Yo, that's dope. That's dope. Hold on. You said that's your
SMART goals. You know, I teach my students how to do SMART goals. When they have a goal, I have them write out a SMART goal, and I always give them an example of one that I'm doing. So I lay out the SMART goals, and then they see, and they hold me accountable.
All right. So for those who are uninitiated, tell us what the acronym SMART stands for when we talk about a SMART goal.
It changes around, but is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. So if you write out a goal, it has to meet those 5 criteria. If it meets those 5 criteria, it's a SMART goal, and you can hold yourself accountable to accomplish that goal. So yeah.
I say that. Let's jump back into it, man. We were just chatting. I had to stop the conversation. Wakanda Forever and the Woman King both bring up some really interesting conversations. You know, so Zumbi, you were just talking about how some of our fairer-skinned Latinx, Latino, Hispanic family are upset that there was a melanated brother who took over Namor's spot. You know, let's talk about that, man. Why don't you guys dive deep into that? Tell me about it, because I didn't know about that part.
Yeah, there's been some YouTube dialogue about that. In fact, earlier this evening, I came across an article from Vox, VOX, and it actually talked about white-skinned Latinos having an issue with this brown skin, dark skin, and I think the brother said he's of Mexican heritage. and they're actually screaming discrimination. Now, what was interesting in the article when you read it, the gentleman who portrayed Namor in Wakanda, guess what he said? He says that the only time they want to get us brown-skinned, dark-skinned folks is to fill the roles of criminals, villains, prostitutes, dope dealers. I said, wait a minute, I've heard this conversation before. Okay, so now you've got colorism going on within the Spanish-speaking community, which is an interesting or an unexpected dynamic to come from Wakanda Forever.
I want to point out that that you are very correct about that. The brother's name is damn, what's his name? Anyway, he previously when he he's very well known in Latin America. He's a big star, but in the United States, he got his first role playing a drug lord. You know what I mean? So you're right. He got his first start doing it.
You know, and I thought it was interesting when he mentioned that. That's why I said, wait a minute, you know, I've heard this dialogue before, but this is the first time I've heard it coming out of that community and the colorism issue. But in a way, I shouldn't be surprised, because if you go back to the foundation of the Young Lords, that those were a couple of the main things that they wanted to address was the colorism and the sexism within that community.
I think it's just kind of interesting. And Dan Trez, you know, we've had a conversation where you shared that, you know, where your family has some heavy roots, Dominican Republic. You said colorism is so thick you could cut it with a knife.
It is. It is. And I want to point out that his name is Tenoch Huerta. I want to point out that he doesn't play a Latinx character. He plays a Mayan character, an indigenous character. So when I hear Latinx people getting upset, I'm like, well, he's not playing a Latinx character. He's playing an indigenous character. They're very clear about that. I mean, even the time period of his origin story is very clear that they predate even that terminology.
Right.
So he plays an indigenous. He doesn't even speak Spanish in the movie. He speaks Mayan, you know.
Man, so what are some of the, you know, Dan, you know, your family's from DR. So what are some of the other things that are coming out of the Latino, Hispanic, Latinx community that deals with Black Panther?
Erasure, indigenous people erasure. That's what I see happening when I see Latinx people claiming or not claiming or claiming that Tenoch Huerta took somebody's job. I'm like, you're erasing indigenous culture. You know what I mean? That's what you're doing, because he's not playing somebody Latinx. You're erasing indigenous culture. That's what y'all doing. You know, I know that Tenoch Huerta is of Mexican descent, but there is an Afro-Latinx person in the movie. You know, Lupita Nyong'o was born and raised in Mexico, but nobody wants to talk about that. But you know, we don't need to go there. We don't need to go there. You know what I'm saying? Like, if anybody that's Afro-Latinx is her, right? Right? She speaks very good Spanish, by the way. She speaks better Spanish than I do. So, yeah.
And she looks better too.
She's fine in this, boy. You see her? Man, woo.
Yo, and when she started speaking Spanish in the movie, I was just like, yo, do it up, sis.
Yeah.
Do it up, sis.
Now she can actually speak, like that's like the first language she learned. Like she was born and raised in Mexico. So she's when people be like, "Oh, there's no Afro Latinx," and I'm like, "Lupita Nyong'o." But what are you talking about? You know, Nakia, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, so.
Right. Hey, look, this is a hop on show, so we're allowing folks to hop on and leave their comments. You can leave your comments in the comment section, or you can do like the good brother Conrad Shesventer, the newly married Conrad Shesventer from
congratulations.
The Beach Brothers show. Hey, Con, man, we're talking about empowerment. We're talking about the Woman King, and we're talking about Wakanda Forever. So give us your thoughts real quick, man. What were your empowerment-based thoughts on both movies or one of the movies? I know you took your wife out to see Woman King twice. I mean, Wakanda Forever twice. We did not
see Woman King twice, but we did see the Woman King at one point in the year and Wakanda Forever on the opening night. I'd say that in terms of empowerment, both in the fact that it's more based on a history telling. The Woman King underscores that a little bit more than Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, even though you can't escape those threads still in that movie as well. All you need to do is look at the advent of Riri, and it shows that this is something that is going to be really important to that section of the movie and Marvel is Black women being powerful, especially with their mind. And you got to see the real version of, if I only read this week that the Dora was only introduced in the comics in the 1990s anyway.
That's correct.
But it was, I can't pronounce the word. I'm not going to try and butcher it. I don't want to be accused of any cultural appropriation type stuff here. But the
stay in your white boy place. Stay in your white boy place.
Yeah. the homemade was the country, I think, but not the name of the actual warriors.
Christopher Priest did not get inspired by the Okoji.
Really?
Yeah, he has many interviews where he talks about that. Not way before even Black Panther was something that we're going to do in the movies. He's talked very clearly about it. Matter of fact, if you purchase volume 1 of the Christopher Priest run, they got 2 volumes of it. He talks about it in there, but he's very clear that he's never said that's where he got it from. People are saying that now, like when Black Panther came out, they were saying that the Okoji was what inspired Dora Milaje. And let me say this, I'm a big fan of Christopher Priest, but he's not a Pan-Africanist. Let me just say that right now. I love all his work. But he's not a Pan-Africanist. He did not get that from there. People, I don't know where that idea came from, that rumor, but people have been running with it since Black Panther.
So are you saying that there's a rumor that the Ogoji
Dora Milaje was inspired by the Okoji? Yeah. Dora Milaje was inspired by the Okoji. Yeah. Yep. Matter of fact, we want to go to the comic book lore. If you want to go there, the key is a villain in the comic book. So
okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
One of the things I thought was really kind of intriguing is, in the comic book, T'Challa has his son with Storm, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's an alternate reality. I'm telling you, y'all don't want to go there with me.
Yes, we do.
Reality T'Challa. They don't have kids yet. They don't have kids yet. They don't have kids yet. They're not even married anymore. You know what I'm saying? They're not even married anymore. They're divorced. But that's a different alternate reality. He has a son in an alternate reality. Yeah.
All right. Okay. In the alternate reality, did he have the son with Storm?
With Storm, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I get half points.
Yeah. Let's you know what? That was my fault. Because I opened it up to the comic. My bad, Conrad. My bad, Sekou. I've opened it. I'm a comic book geek. I know my stuff. And by the way, if we want to go there, check out Protectors of Wakanda, written by his sister. You know what I mean? And it tells you the history of Dora Milaje and the history of Wakanda, all the monarchs who were Black Panthers, all that is in there. Check it out. It's really dope.
That's a holiday present to me.
Yeah, so yeah, this is dope.
Yeah, Conrad, you might want to buy that for that wifey sitting next to you.
Protectors of Wakanda. She would enjoy it.
Hey, but let's bring it back to empowerment. So this image that we see on the screen now, I always mispronounce the name. It's Ogoji.
Okoji, yeah, Okoji.
Okoji, yeah. Okay. Ogoji, isn't that that's a anime person, right?
Nah, I know you're talking about. Yeah.
I get it all mixed up.
Oh man,
is this the empowerment that we needed? Is this the visual empowerment that sisters needed, or is this some other stuff? Because I've heard a lot of back and forth on the Okoji and the way they were. Go ahead.
The first thing I'm gonna say is that I love both movies. I love both movies a lot, but it's Hollywood. You got to remember that it's Hollywood, right? And what I tell people is that for me in my personal life, those two movies are just a reinforcement of what I'm already, me and my family and my community are already doing. You know what I mean? So to the mainstream Black people in the diaspora, the mainstream, a lot of this information is new to them, but this is something that a lot of us are already doing. when we're talking about the ancestral plane, we're talking about libations, when we're talking about not that there's a monarchy, but there's a council of elders that kind of like help shape policy. You know what I mean? That's a very West African concept. We, you know what I'm saying? Like we was calling people Baba, all that stuff. That's stuff that's always been with us. To everybody else, it's a new thing. You know what I mean? But for us, it's always been there. Women have always held us up. Whether we're talking about, the Black Power movement, whether you're talking about slavery, women have always held our community up and continue to do so. So it's, to me, if anything, it's a reinforcement of that. Yes, there's some things in history that we have either have forgotten or has been deliberately taken from us, and those things need to be discussed. And I think the Woman King, there was a lot of people that were saying that they left out the issue of slavery, but when I saw the movie, the discussion of slavery was central to the plot. And I think, and I think every person that had a dialogue brought up slavery. You know what I mean? Either they were victims of it, they participated in it, or they just were beneficiaries on the side. And everybody was kind of like discuss. That was a consistent discussion. Don't get me wrong. The ending, they didn't tell you what happened. It kind of was like a happy ending, but you don't know the history of it. But the discussion of slavery and their involvement or the disinvolvement was central to the plot.
All right, but Zumbi, you were saying that the film The Woman King was a bit misleading.
Yeah, I'm going to put on my Steve Coakley hat for a minute. Okay.
Salute to the late great Steve Coakley. You don't know who he is. Y'all can't be in here.
Check. So, when the movie was first being marketed, the trailer and everything, I said, okay, let me start going behind the scenes in this thing. There's 3 names that came up the more I started digging. I'll read those 3 names to you. Maria Bello, Kathy Schulman, Dana Stevens.
Dana Stevens, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All 3 of them are white. Bello, the idea came to her when she took a trip to Benin in 2015. Okay. Schulman has been an executive producer in Hollywood that is focused on feminist issues and women's rights in Hollywood. Okay. Dana Stevens is actually the one who wrote the screenplay, even though they mention Blythewood as being the co-screenplay writer.
Co-screenplay, yeah.
Okay. So I'm looking at this like, okay, so why would 3 white women be the architects of a movie? And from my research, the main character, Viola Davis, is fictional. Okay, not to mention the fact, and this is what we were talking about back in the green room. So when Viola Davis and her husband was catching hell over this movie, I mean, from all directions, none of these 3 women came out and defended Davis, nor were they even asked to make a statement about the controversy, which I thought was very interesting.
Oh, they didn't get the Kylie Irving treatment.
There's a reason for that. But there's a reason for that, though.
Okay.
And you know what? I salute to them for writing the screenplay, but the debate came from Black people, right? And quite honestly, if I was a white person, I wouldn't want to get into a debate with Black people about slavery. You know what I mean? Like the discussion was, and this is the critique. The critique was the movie did not deal with the issue of slavery, even though it did. Right? The debate was a lot of people were hating on the movie that a lot of them didn't see because they felt that they were saying that they were kind of like not really discussing slavery, and they were. If I was a white person, I wouldn't want to get in that discussion. Hell nah, fuck that. I'm not gonna get in that discussion. It's just and was like, that's not what the movie is. How would we treat them? You'd be like, man, you better get the hell up out of here with that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't blame them. And I had some white comrades who were like, yo, I want to defend the movie, but you know what I'm saying? I'm white. And I'm like, I feel you. Stay over there. Like, yeah, you right. Like, don't come over here. I appreciate the fact that you wanted to defend the movie, but it's a discussion that I don't think we don't want you in. And that's the debate came from Black people, right? The issue came from Black people, and I think that was a discussion we need. That's a discussion we need to have. Who was involved with the slave trade and who wasn't, right? Because that's a discussion we need to have, right? And I'm glad that debate was brought up because the movie actually dealt with it, right? The movie actually indicts Europeans. It indicts Europeans, right? And there's even a European in the movie who says, "Yo, look, I don't really get down with this. But if you don't sell to me, somebody else from Europe is gonna come over here and buy from y'all." You know what I mean? Even he says it. He's like, I don't really get down with this, but this is what it is. It is what it is. So he even the white dude blames white supremacist capitalist patriarchy, right? Even he indicts it when he brings that up. And I was like, oh wow. And it's like every time the debate came up with the king, right? Every time they came up, they were like, look, maybe we should focus on palm oil. And they're like, we're not gonna make no money in palm oil. The money is in slaves. You know what I mean? That was a European economic system. They brought that to the rest of the world. And that movie clearly indicts white people. So when I hear people with these critiques, I'm like, what movie did you watch? Because that's not what the discussion was about. The discussion was indicting white people on slavery. And I just don't, in literally every debate they had, they brought that up. I was just like, wow, it was crazy.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny that as soon as you make this point, Conrad disappeared. He just where'd
my
you
bad,
go?
Conrad, my bad. I think he was on my team. I think he's on my team.
Where'd you go?
Conrad is on my team, right? Yeah. Conrad is on my team.
Oh, it's about to get deep. All right, man. So welcoming to the Get On Code show, a queen I've been trying to get on the show for a minute. Conrad's wifey. Oh, okay. So it's Andrea Shesventer now.
Dixon Shesventer. You're gonna get that hyphen in
there. All right. So
yes.
All right. So yeah, it's gonna get kind of spicy. But Conrad, you did dip when Danny got pro-black on.
I understood my role.
He was like, "White boy out." Comrade out. He's like, "Hey, this is an unallied discussion."
And I'm gonna say this. Shout out to Viola Davis because she didn't even address it either. You know what I mean? And rightly so, because a lot of the critiques were coming from people who didn't watch the movie. You know what I mean? There was a lot of people that I was running out there that was lying about the movie. And when I went to see the movie, I was like, whoa, did they edit the movie before I came to see it? Because I didn't see it opening weekend. I saw it the weekend after. So I was like, did they change everything in the movie? Because from what everybody was telling me, they were saying that it wasn't doing that. That it was glossing over the concept of slavery. And I was just like, really? Because every character was affected by slavery in a particular way. Even the king. The king said, my mom got sold into slavery. You know what I'm saying? Everybody was affected by it, or they had a hand in it. So every character they introduced literally told you what their connection to slavery was. And when I say slavery, I mean chattel slavery, right? They told you what their connection to it was and how they got to where they were. And then they had a debate. And I was just like, every dialogue is about this debate, right? And I was like, so where are these people getting this idea that they're not talking about slavery? And I just don't get it.
All right, I saw a mini head roll there, Andrea. Did you have something you wanted to drop?
No, I like to, in debates, I like to write things down. So I was just writing everything down. But also, for me, when I watched the movie, and as the only female on the panel, it was very empowering. It was, of course, there is the untold rule when it comes to Hollywood, that Hollywood has this license to be able to take what might be factual and then spin it to be entertaining. You know that when it comes to Hollywood. Yep. But as you were saying, when it comes to the pushback on the Woman King, I found it very interesting that, like you were saying, one of the things that were coming up was that it didn't speak about slavery. When the entire movie from beginning to end discuss slavery. In fact, the ending scene, if you didn't see it already, I'm gonna spoil it for you, is slave boats coming up on the shore and these women standing there with weapons in their hand, ready to defend their people and themselves against this European horde. No offense, honey, but this European horde. But it was always part of it. It was even the bad guys. The bad guys' motive operandi was to continue on with the slave trade because it made money. It was always about that. And for me, I enjoyed The Woman King. I like having the dichotomy of a woman in films. The main character, she is strong, she's a leader, but she's also weak. She's also a mother. She's also a woman who is trying to protect her country. And it is something that is enduring. She has friends. She has individuals that she really cares about. And I appreciated that. And I loved it. I loved the movie.
And I want to add one more thing.
It did have that. Okay.
That
okay,
I think
ahead.
Everybody else missed, right? Because the other debate people were saying was, oh, they have a woman as a king. And I was like, no. In the beginning, they worship the Ibeji gods, the twin gods of the Yoruba, right? Mm-hmm. And the twin gods of the Yoruba, it's a woman and a man, and that means equality, right? So it wasn't that she was going to be the woman king; she was going to rule with the king equally. You know what I mean? Because just like the story of the Ebony those are the gods from the Yoruba, they twins. You know what I mean? And everybody, don't get me wrong, they only mentioned the name twice. But everybody missed that, and I was like, "No, she's not being elevated to be the king. She's the Ebony. She's the other twin. He wasn't going to marry her. He was going to make her a monarch with him. That's why his wives were mad. Mm-hmm. That's why his wives are mad because he was supposed to make them queen. He was like, no, I'm gonna make her. You know what I mean? Because she put in the work. So she just like for the Ebony, and I was like, oh, that's so deep. But everybody missed that part too, and I was just
if you didn't understand that part of the culture. You know, you really thought because the king is actually the stool, it's the seat, it's the position. Mm-hmm. And so, this the woman in that position. And I had that conversation with a number of people. Side note, his other wife was bad, boy.
Yeah, his harem, they were gorgeous. Let me say, whoever did the makeup over there, whoever did the makeup, they were all the women in here.
What I was going to say was, I really did appreciate the respect the king gave to her.
Yeah,
he treated her, yes, as a subordinate, but also his equal. He was trying to get her to be able to be a part of the monarchy the entire film. Yes. And that I appreciated. Mm-hmm. I also actually appreciated that bad bitch y'all talking about being a crazy one too. I also appreciated that.
Yo, she was crazy fine.
She was crazy fine.
I wouldn't even say
she was not part of the game.
I wouldn't even say she was crazy. It's just politics, right? That you want, as a queen, you want your child to become the king, right? Because that's how you maintain your power. So him transferring the power over to her and raising it equally knocks her out of the access to the monarchy. You know what I'm saying? So she's a politician. You know, she's a politician. She was acting as a politician, and I think a lot of people didn't miss that dynamic as well with his court. I mean, they could have been more elaborate with it, but that's all political jockeying, which we also see in Wakanda Forever. All of that is geopolitics. It's all geopolitics. The issue between Wakanda and Talokan is all geopolitics, and I really appreciated that both movies got into that. You know,
with the central villain being white colonizers.
It is. Yep. Admittedly so, and they admitted several times in the movie. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Historically accurate, though.
Yeah, it's very historically accurate. Yeah. Yep.
All right. So Zumbi, I know that you had some other concerns with the film. I know you haven't seen it. Well, no, you saw The Woman King. You hadn't seen Wakanda Forever, but you had some other Steve Coakley-ism concerns. So drop those, Steve. Drop that beautiful bean footage, bro. Go ahead. What was the issue?
Okay, and I'm gonna tie it back to the first Black Panther.
Mhm.
How the hell do you make the CIA boy the hero when we know what the history has been between the CIA and Africa? Okay, let's just deal with that. Because if you
in Wakanda Forever, they deal with it.
Okay, but what I'm saying,
they literally deal with it. He goes to jail.
But what my whole point is this, because I'm kind of doing some research into this whole thing about Hollywood's relationship with the CIA, and I'll get to that later. Okay, but my whole point, and really for this whole dialogue, is who's telling your story and what agenda are they trying to put out? Because if we don't tell our story our way, then you get, lack of a better term, you get the kind of fuckery that we begin to see coming out of Hollywood now. Okay, so I'm a little edgy when people who don't look like me start trying to tell my story my way. And another thing, everybody wants to talk about the origin of the Black Panther comic, and you can look this up. Jack Kirby, for those who are in the comic book world, okay, he was the illustrator. The best analogy I can make about Jack Kirby is the comic book illustrating as Rakim is the emceeing, to give you an analogy. Okay. Jack Kirby, and he said this himself, Jack Kirby served in World War II, and there was a segregated battalion that served under the leadership of General George S. Patton, referred to as Patton's Panthers.
Panthers, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
A tank brigade.
And there's a book out that has the same title, Patton's Panthers.
Yep.
And it actually shows you the symbol of the panther, which it doesn't look like the one that came out of Lowndes County that became the symbol for the Panthers in Oakland, but it was basically a panther head, kind of similar to the Thundercats. Okay, so we have to understand history, who is behind things, and what is the purpose of them doing that. So that's why I said, for me, I'm a little edgy when people who don't look like me try to tell my story, be it fictional or otherwise. And let
me say this.
And I want you to hit this. Once you finish that point,
Jack Kirby created most of the Marvel characters we see on the screen. That's a fact, right? But the Black Panther we see on the screen is not his iteration. It's Christopher Priest's iteration and Reginald Hudlin's iteration, right? Reginald Hudlin, who used to be the CEO of BET, right? That's his iteration. Same thing with Namor. Namor was actually the first Marvel character on the Marvel Comics, as Marvel used to be Timely Comics, right? But that Namor that we see in the TV screen,
right?
That's not the Namor from the comic books. He's not. You know what I'm saying? And Ryan Coogler rewrote it, and he did his damn thing. He put his foot in it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So you talking about Hudlin of the Hudlin brothers?
Same thing with I'm trying to think of another character. There's several characters that the Falcon was created by a white person. As a matter of fact, his origin is real funny because of Red Skull using to fight Captain America. It's real funny. But the Falcon we see on the screen was an iteration by a black person. So a lot of these characters, they're created by white. That's fact. That's everybody knows that. That's anybody that's worked in comic book knows that. But the ones we see on the screen the stories are taken from black people. You know what I mean?
Watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Because let me tell you right now, when people ask me what Black Panther run to read, I never say Don McGregor or Jack Kirby. I say Christopher Priest, Reginald Hudlin, Ta-Nehisi Coates. Those are the three that I tell them to read. When they ask me about Namor, I'll be like, don't read none of Namor shit because all that shit is whack. You know, so like, so I direct them. I tell you, if you ask me, I'm gonna tell you where to go. You know, so same thing with Miles Morales. You know, I'm gonna tell you to read Saladin Ahmed's run on it. You know what I'm saying? Not Brian Michael Bendis. You know, so like, so I 100%. I agree with you, Zumbi. I love that name. That's my middle son's middle name. You know, I agree with you, Zumbi. We should always question that. We should always question that. But Ryan Coogler wrote Black Panther 1 and co-wrote Part 2, so he knew what he was doing. You know.
Okay, Dan, I want you to respond, and then we'll go round robin. I saw Andrea raise her hand, so that means you got to go first. But I do want Dominique's question to be answered. So if you're going to go first, Andrea, if you can tap into Dominique's question.
How do you
feel about the MCU introducing more Black characters?
Needed.
Yeah, it is needed. I always go back. I know it's old, but I always go back to that. It was the conference they had with Puff Daddy. What is it called? The Vulture? Well, whatever. Killer Mike was on the conference. He was talking about how if Black people are 15% of the population, then they should be 15% of everything. And that is the actual essence of equity, equity and equality. If we are part of the population, then we should be a part of 15% of all the things that are created in Hollywood, or any other thing, economics, construction, things of that nature. And for me, having more Black characters in the MCU is inevitable. It's kind of odd to me to have decades and decades and decades of comic books and not include any of the other people in the population of the world included into it. How do you have every superhero be Caucasian when they're all the minority in the world? It's kind of weird, you know? So that's how I see it for me. In addition to that, I also want to elaborate on the Hollywood effect. A lot of times individuals look at TV and social media and movies and they incorporate that within themselves because they reflect on that. It's kind of going back to the characters. You see people on screens, you resonate, and you feel more connected. But we also have to understand Hollywood does not really care about inclusion. They care about money. The most important color in America is always going to be green. So the reason why you were seeing Black Panther is because there was a monetary reason for them to be able to include it. It was the internet saying, we like this character. If you make a movie, we'll go see this character. The movie made a lot of money.
Over billions.
And then they made the new movie and they included it in Civil War and all these other things because it was about the monetary gain. And Black Panther was not resonating in the internet. And Black Panther, the movie, bombed. You would not see Black Panther 2. That would have never happened. And we have to, I think it's very important for us to differentiate between the monetary gain of movie companies and corporations and what they really want to actually do in society. They're not interested in Black characters. They're interested in Black characters as long as they make money. If they don't make money, they don't go on screen.
Yeah, Black Stories brought to you by Disney.
Excuse me. They don't. They really don't.
Dan, what's your thoughts? What do you feel about the MCU introducing more Black characters? To be honest with you, I think it's interesting.
No, it's about time. As somebody who's been reading comic books since I was 4 years old, I'm 49, and someone who's raised my kids on comic books.
I do.
And my kids grew up going to Comic Cons all over the country. My kids and I cosplay. I get my students involved. Like I've been a comic book head for, that's how I started reading. Then it's about time. I'm a consumer. Most Black people I mess with, most Black and brown people I mess with are into comic books and do the same thing I do. It's about time. We're consumers of this medium, and it's about time. You better. You know what I'm saying? So like, you better give us Black and brown characters. Kamala Khan and Miss Marvel, that was a dope series on Disney Plus. That was really fucking dope. Yes, I want to see. I want to see a Riri Williams Disney Plus. Yes, I got all the runs on that one. So let's go. Like it's about time. And again, like I remember when Miles Morales first came out, and y'all remember, right? And he looked like my son Zumbi. When they originally drew him, Sarah Pichelli from Italy, when she was drawing him, he looked just like my son. I used to post pictures of it on with my son next to it. And people was like, damn, he do look like Miles Morales. And I'm like, yeah, it's about time that they see my baby see these characters, because there was a time, I'm almost an empty nester. So I remember a time, and Sekou could tell you that. Shout out to his late great mother, you know what I mean? Mama Varner, who's an ancestor, love you. She was a storyteller, you know what I mean? And my children love being around her when she used to tell stories. But we used to always look for books with Black people in it, storybooks. And back then, it was very hard to find. You had to dig. So, shout out to all the Black-owned bookstores, the late great Brother George, Positive Vibes Bookstore. We used to, hey, they got this over here. And then Sekou would tell me, and then I would pass it along. But now it's everywhere, and it's about time. It's about time.
Hey, Zumbi, what are your thoughts on it, man? Are you into comic books?
Yeah, I was, and I guess I'll take a different approach. I remember starting in 1990, going probably into 1995, where there was a huge explosion of independent comic books and heroes like Shadowhawk. And in fact, if you remember the singer Mel LaRue, her and her husband actually created a futuristic animation that was internet-based on Kemet. So basically, they just took Kemet and made it futuristic. Okay.
I remember that. It was dope. I remember that.
Yeah. So I'm of the school where I've taken a position where I am no longer supporting Marvel/Disney, DC/Time Warner, Image, or Dark Horse, because I feel that with the technology that's out now and with the catalog of African mythology that we have, I'm not going to sit here and wait for multinational corporations to give me what I can give myself through independent graphic novels. Okay. I'm not, so personally, I don't give a rat's ass what Marvel or DC puts out, because I'm on that position of, at what point do we teach our children to create our own based on the African mythological catalog that we already have? And I'm going to mention another guy that I'm sure everybody on the panel knows, Joseph Campbell.
Okay, you got to tell us why you bringing up Joseph Campbell.
Okay.
And by the way, and we're speaking with the author of the Gospel of Afro-Nomics Theology,
yes,
good brother ministry, Zumbi Shawala. Talk about Campbell. Talk about Joseph Campbell.
Okay, Joseph Campbell was considered the preeminent world authority on world mythology. In fact, he served as a mentor to George Lucas in putting together the Star Wars series. Okay.
Wait. What?
He was his college professor.
Right. Okay.
Yep, he was his college professor. Yep, and his mentor. Yeah. Yep.
Let's go. Let's go.
So in what Joseph Campbell is known for is a concept that he pulled out of studying various mythologies around the world called the hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the hero's journey, some say it's 8 steps, others say it's 12 steps. Okay. But if we take the hero's journey and we apply it to our own African mythological catalog, how many graphic novel series, how many animation series that we can put out of our own with the technology that exists today? I think that has to be the dialogue, and not sit up here and knock on the door of Disney and Time Warner saying, please include me in your universe.
Yeah.
Okay, because at what point, and like I said, like Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, do for self or suffer the consequences. And it seems like we're suffering some consequences now because we still expecting these multinational corporations to get right with God when their rise to power and their maintenance of that power came through the devil.
Ooh. All right, so that's truly getting on code. So you're boycotting the MCU.
Well, they're done. They're done. And see, what I wish would have happened, and I was praying for this. After the first Black Panther came out, I was hoping that there would have been an explosion of young African youth to say, I want to create my own. I'm not waiting for Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and all the rest of them. I'm going to be Stan Lee. I'm going to be Jack Kirby and create my own universe.
Hasn't it happened? Yo,
it has. It actually happened before Black Panther, and it's actually bigger now. And again, I tell people, go to your local Comic Cons and you see all the brothers and sisters out there selling. I got mad stuff. I got mad stuff that I buy. That's the first thing I do when I'm probably the only person that goes to Comic Con to buy comics, first of all. But everybody else goes for the cosplay. I'm like, I can't buy comics, it's cheaper. But the first place I go to the Creators Corner, and that's where you will find all these, bootstrap mom and pop dudes and women,
right,
that actually promote that. So one place I tell you to go, there's a comic book company called Black Mask, and they got the brother there. I forgot his name. He's writing this wonderful series, so good that they expanded and made it his own universe. And it's about how white people are trying to get superpowers and they can't. But when they experiment on black people get the superpowers. So it's a real ill universe, and he keeps expanding it and expanding. And it's amazing. Like, the writing is great, the artwork is great. And it's under the Black Mask imprint, and his story is called the first version is called Black. It's a 6-issue series, and he's continuing it. There it is right there. And it's just amazing. And he's just one of many. There's so much stuff out there that people are doing. You have to go seek it, because they don't have access to the same promotions and media and all that as, say, the MCU or DCU does. So you have to actually look for them. But they're not too hard to find. Listen to the podcast For All Nerds. They got all the creators coming on there. There's a lot of, the Blurred Girl on TikTok. You can follow her. She's consistently bigging up people that do that. So, and this has been going on. And anybody will tell you, any of my comic book plugs will tell you, I'm always looking for black and brown folks that are doing stuff. Yep, it's Tuskegee Airmen Comics. That's another one. That's a real good one. The artwork is great. The story is art. And it's just so many out there. And what I like about comic books now is that you can get comic books about whatever you like. If you want to learn about, middle-aged men that are becoming empty nesters, there's a comic book about that written by black men. You know what I'm saying? So it's all out there. You just got to look for it. And I know a lot of times it gets caught up in the, I'll be the first to admit, when we hang out with a bunch of geeks, we want to talk about the MCU, we want to talk about the DCU and all that. I'll be the first to admit it. So that's probably our fault that we're not really promoting it like we should. I know, me personally, I give them away as gifts all the time. So, especially to my students.
Yo, I remember seeing these folks at the Comic Con that happened here in Hampton, Virginia.
Yeah,
I got a chance to meet them. Tuskegee Airs, Flames of Destiny. Yeah, good stuff. So, so what else do people look for? And, I like what you're talking about, Zumbi. I know we got to do for self. All of our prophets said that. All of our prophets said that. So Dan Trez, what else is out there? Oh, okay. Sisters with afros. Y'all know I'm a man.
I'm at the wrong bookshelf. I should have been at the other bookshelf, because I usually have stuff out here. This is all. So here it is. Here's the one I was talking about. So I love it. Yeah, so there's a bunch of stuff out there. I'm just not at the section. This is my Marvel section, and I should have been in the other bookshelf in the dining room, but I didn't have that. So I usually have all that stuff over there on display. So, but there's a lot of stuff out there. I recommend go to your local comic shop. The sister up in Philly just closed her comic shop, Allegation Comics, which I'm mad because I never got a chance to visit. She just closed her spot up there. And she had mostly independent and black-owned comic books, black creator-owned stuff. So but you just have to go search, and you will find it. Go to your local Comic-Con, or go to your local comic shop, and they would gladly point you in the right direction. So,
well, I want to take this moment to answer Dominique's question. I I became, I'm one of those make mine Marvel, and I stole that from you, Dan Trez. But I became make mine Marvel because I saw Oro, and it blew me away. And I had never seen, I was into Spider-Man. I was reading the Archie comic books. But when I saw Oro from the X-Men, it blew me away. And then I got into Luke Cage and Power Fist. And I was a real big fan of them. And, then I started, reading more about Luke Cage. And he had another series before Luke Cage and Power Fist, I found out. But it was our characters that got me into the MCU. And so, I'm born in 68. I got into comics maybe around 76. So the X-Men, it really just kind of dropped. They dropped in like 71, 72?
No, it was in the 60s. Late 60s. X-Men was in the 60s.
Okay.
Now the giant size X-Men was like 76. Like the X-Men that has Wolverine, Colossus, and that came later. Yeah, that came later on. So that had Storm, Aurora Monroe. That came later. So that might be what you're referring to.
Right. So I want to say, Dominique, it was characters of color, and I hate using that term. It was our characters that got me into the MCU. So the fact that they're bringing up even more, now it has me going back and saying, I got to check this out. Because now Marvel valued me. But I also believe, like Zumbi, that we definitely got to do for self.
I agree 100%.
We definitely got to do for self.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and these characters that I'm showing on the screen now, for those who are watching the video and not just listening to the podcast version, these are from the Tuskegee Heirs, and these are some of the characters on the Tuskegee Heirs. So I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm glad, Dominic, that you shared this. Oh, okay. It kind of looks like the Rock with the tan, right? If the Rock had a tan. Yeah, I'm digging this. So back to the empowerment talk, because the Get On Code show was all about empowerment. Now that we've had Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, now that we've had the Woman King, what should we learn from this, and how should we change our communities?
I think for me, what I was hoping, and I know again, I try not to put too much stake in Hollywood. Like I really, I'm a historian, right? I have a degree in history, right? So like, I don't expect Hollywood to teach anybody history. That's the first thing I tell people. Like if you're expecting a movie to teach you about history, then you're going about it the wrong way. But I know that I thought that there would be more people diving into African traditional religions because of what they see in Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and in The Woman King. I thought I would see more people delve into that because they bring up a lot of that in there. Commemorating our ancestors, libations, different pantheons of gods that we get. Where do they come from, right? Because Bas comes from the Egyptian pantheon, right? So like, I thought I would see more of that, but I don't see a lot of that. That's what I was hoping for. But I could be wrong. There could be people delving into African traditional religions, now as we speak, and I just don't know about it. But that's what I would like to see more of us doing. But I do love the fact that in Wakanda Forever, as they did in Black Panther, they talk about how we transition, how we don't really actually die, right? And the concept of the ancestral plane instead of this idea of heaven and hell, which is not ours. I would like to see us explore that more often and talk about that. Definitely. Again, to the late great Mama Varner and to Baba Askia, two people that had a big influence in my life. And when I saw this movie, Wakanda Forever, I thought about them definitely. And how I love how Letitia writes. We saw her go through the stages of grief, right? What's going, through her character building, and it shows that we had a collective grieving of Chadwick Boseman, and how he is an ancestor, and we have to really talk about respecting our ancestors. We do. We really have to get back to that. But that's who we are, right? That's who we are. Even she says it. When Queen Ramonda's in the ancestral plane telling Letitia Wright, show them who we are, right? Show them who we are. And that's what I want to get into with General Zumbi, is that we should be about justice and not vengeance. And what we saw in Wakanda Forever with Letitia Wright, when she had Namor dead to rights, she didn't do it just like T'Challa didn't do it in in Civil War when he had homie by the neck and he was going to kill him. And he's like, no, we want justice, not vengeance, because you shouldn't be consumed by vengeance. And I think because a lot of times we think that the way to liberation is to be like our enemies, and we shouldn't be that way. You know what I mean? Because if we really truly want to be liberated, we can't be like that. We should seek justice and not vengeance.
Intriguing. I have noticed that since the release of Black Panther, that more of us are using the term ancestor. It's become more publicly acceptable to use the term ancestor. I'm hearing it when I go to churches. I actually had a conversation with, the minister of the church that I attend, and we were bringing up ancestors. And I was saying, yeah, it looks like, people, Christians are becoming a lot more comfortable with the term. And he was like, I don't know, it's not biblical. I said, it is biblical. And I said, so, there's a portion in the Bible when Yeshua is on top of a hill, and who comes and talks with him? He's like, oh, he's visited. Yep, he was visited by who? Moses, Elijah, and I can't think who the other ancestor was. So in the Bible, Yeshua, Jesus, gets visited by ancestors. And look, he had his homeboys down, a little further in the valley, and they fell asleep in the story in the Bible. And so they fell asleep. And when they wake up, they see Yeshua talking to these three ancestors, and they're like, oh, yo, Yeshua, should we go get some food for him? Should we get something for them to drink? So it's really interesting that even in the canonized Bible, there's a story where there's an ancestral return and messages before Yeshua, starts on his final journey, the final part of his journey, similar to when they take the flower or they take the liquid from that leaf, and they get a chance to go back to the ancestral plane and communicate and have commune with ancestors to give them information for their final journey. Because of Black Panther, I think that we become a little more comfortable with the concept of ancestors.
I have to agree with that.
Yeah. So Zumbi, man, what lesson, what empowerment lesson shall we be getting from what Disney's putting out, what Sony's putting out?
Tell your story before your enemy does. Because if you don't tell it, somebody else will, and you may not like the plot. The old African adage of until lions become historians, the hunter is always the hero. Mm-hmm. And we've got to get out of this nasty habit of expecting others to tell the truth about us. We got to stop that, people. Okay? If you want the truth told, you tell it. It's not Hollywood's responsibility to tell the truth about you. Weren't they the ones who created the stereotypes going back into the 1930s? Weren't they the ones who created Birth of a Nation? And you're expecting them to be honest about us?
Okay. As usual, as per the course of action, Zumbi drops it. Hey, Zumbi or Dan Trez, any information on this image that I have on the screen?
That's supposed to be the Akoji, right?
Right.
That's the Akoji, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have anything else other than that. Like I don't know who did the painting. I don't know who's the artist behind that.
All right, but just to give a little historical reference on the Akoji.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
Akoji were,
this is your realm, bro.
Yeah, the Akoji were the actual King's Guard. That was like their job, the King's Guard. And I hate to use this analogy, but think of them like the Secret Service. The Secret Service doesn't only just protect the president; they also do law enforcement. They do they capture fugitives. They train special forces. They train with special forces. They do special secret missions, and they did the same thing. You know, at the king's behest. So they only answered to the king. They didn't answer to the general. They didn't answer to like the commander of the armed forces. They didn't answer to anybody but the king. They followed orders only from the king. So they did a whole bunch of things outside of protecting the royal family. And yes, they were involved with the slave trade. They were active participants in the slave trade on several levels. So that's where the discussion and the debate was from. And the Dahomey is located in West Africa. And the Dahomey actually are the ancestors of the people of Haiti and Dominican Republic. So yes, they are. Some of them are my ancestors. So and they were later on, the Dahomey were later on taken over by the Yoruba of what is now Nigeria. That's why if you go to the Dahomey now, they speak Yoruba, which is Benin and Togo. Benin and Togo is where they at now. What Dahomey is now is now Benin and Togo. So yep.
And that's why I asked you to give the information on that, bro.
Yes, sir.
I think it's interesting that Marvel has already dropped the figurines. Now, if somebody wants to buy me a Shuri or a Nakia figurine for the holidays,
I got you, man. I got you. Thank you for telling me that. I got you. I got you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you.
I'm just hoping that they don't make them life size. That would be all right. Hey, any last thoughts? We were talking today about empowerment. We've been talking about the Woman King. We've been talking about Wakanda Forever and Black Panther. And we talked about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We also brought up the DC Cinematic Universe. DC, that still to me seems like weird. It's
fun.
It's weird to me. But any last thoughts on empowerment? Go ahead.
Your question on what we should learn from both of the movies.
Oh, I didn't let you talk. Yeah. I am sorry. Okay. Hey, look. Publicly apologizing.
But we saving the best for last. We saving the best for last.
Oh, good save.
So for me, I would say what we should learn is a collective work of responsibility.
All right.
Something that both those movies did have as one of their core understandings.
Jama, yeah.
Mm-hmm. We also have to we have to do more research as people. I understand that when we got here, if you're like Ado's person, when you got here, your whole history was stripped from you. But that was then. This is now. We have to be able to take responsibility as individuals to start doing our own research and start looking into our cultural history. If that requires a DNA test, if that requires going through your family tree, it's time for us to actually go back as far as we can and find out where we're from. Find out what our cultural habits are, what we came from, as much as we can, so that we can be able to continue those traditions for ourselves and for our children and so forth and so on. Another thing we have to be able to do is understand and respect cultural traditions. I'm so happy you put that up there because that's exactly what I was thinking about. The process,
you were thinking about how beautiful Angela Bassett is. You weren't talking about that.
Oh, she's flawless. But bow down. So what I was also thinking about is the tradition of, in our culture, I read you have to forgive me because I forgot the author, but I just finished the third version of the African American Psychology. I read the first version and the third version. And in that, it talks about how we have to understand our culture. And one of the things they talk about is time. And what time for us is not linear. We don't think of time as we have to take and give. We understand that it is something outside of ourselves. And when it gets done, it gets done. And this is an ongoing, everlasting process. This is something that we have had forever. And the fact that they did that in the movie, I really do appreciate, particularly for the culture that we have in America, and the issues that we do have in regards to the circumstances around ourselves, the ongoing PTSD or PTSS or whatever you want to call it, we have this foreshadowing of shortened futures, this consistent issue with death. That's not our thing. That's not our thing. We understand that when you leave this plane, you go into another, and it's constantly churning, constantly moving. There is no such thing as death. It's just another realm. We've understood it as a people forever, but we've gotten mixed up in this, no offense, honey, European ideas. And so we have that concept. And the fact that they did that in the movie, not once, but twice.
And in Moon Knight.
But twice. And in Moon Knight.
Ooh, okay.
Yes, they referenced it, yeah.
We should start to get back to who we truly are, which means we need to get back to our cultures. Find out your traditions and your people. Everybody has different things within, Africa's so great and vast, but you have to be able to get back to your traditional people and your traditional things that you do. But one thing is consistent. We are not about our master's business. Let's just say that. We should not be about our master's business. We should be about our business. And what's happening a lot of times now is we are about our master's business. I'm pointing to you because you're white. I'm sorry, honey. But we are about our master's business.
Yo, Karen, you should charge her $1 every time she says no.
I'm going to get it when we get off this. I'm going to get it.
So you at the end of this conversation, she owes you $5.
We should be about our business, and we should be about the things that are going to increase our spiritual, mental, emotional, financial buildings. If that's not the case, that's not our business. We are about our business, and that's what I got to say. Good work.
I wanna add on.
Okay, didn't see that. That was a Hallmark card. They pushing that agenda. Okay.
Steal a kiss from the colonizer.
You the colonizer. Sorry.
All right.
I apologize.
All right, but yo, Danny got something serious to say, and I messed it up.
No. Because I was gonna say I want to piggyback it off what the sister said. There's a book edited by Dr. Sheena Howard called Why Wakanda Matters, and it deals with literally what she just talked about. Literally everything she just said. Trauma, psychology, all of that, racial drama, all of that. It talks about Killmonger and how he represents who we are. Like, she gets into that. It's written by different authors. She just edited it. So I highly recommend Why Wakanda Matters. I'm telling you, because she covers all of that.
Okay. Since everybody's been enamored by this woman king thing, if you really want to study a true woman king, go study Queen Nanny. Go study Nzinga, Queen Yasantiwa, Harriet Tubman, Ida B. Wells Barnett, all the way down to Assata Shakur. And I'm going to say this, I always hear these feminists talking about how they're down for the sisterhood. I sat in a room with a bunch of white feminists, and I says, where were you when Assata Shakur was attempting to be extradited from Cuba back to the U.S.? I didn't see Gloria Steinem. I didn't see any of the other flunkies that got produced from the feminist movement standing up for Assata Shakur or Erica Huggins. Okay? So if we want to study some real women kings, let's crack some history books and put Hollywood down for a change.
I will say this.
Right.
I will say one thing. Sojourner Truth already told us what these white women was about long ago. If you did not remember that, then that's on you. Because ain't I a woman? I mean, insane. Like
Two things.
Her
My
toes-
feminism is not informed by white women at all. All the feminists I fuck with are black women. And there is a movie about Queen Nzinga called Nzinga, Queen of Angola, that came out in 2013 from Brazil. It's in Portuguese though, so but it's really good. It's really good. So yeah, if you want to see a movie, if you know, I know a lot of people don't like to read books, but if you want to see a movie about Queen Nzinga, came out 2013. It's a really good movie. It's in Portuguese though. Shout out to my Brazilian folks. Shout out to my capoeiristas out there. Yeah, so definitely check it out.
Well, you know, it comes down to this. There's some stuff that we got to push off the stage. So let's do this. That's what we got to do.
Right. That's right.
And hey, Crumb, tell him, Crumb.
Family, this is not the get along game where we're all gonna go. We not playing that kumbaya game where everybody gets a trophy. No.
That's right. You can't get a trophy. You can't win with us. It's not happening.
And next time you schedule this, Sekou, make sure you do it after I have my haircut, because you always schedule this thing right before I get my haircut. That's why I'm wearing a hat today. I look crazy in all your videos because you always get me like 2 days before I got to get my haircut, man.
All right. Hey, look, I have a quick commercial I got to do, and then I just want us to all shout out where people can find this. So, quick commercial. One time in the so-called African American community, 6 times in the Latino community, and 9 times in the Asian community. In white neighborhoods, money circulates an unlimited amount of time. The HR Green Book will have listings from our businesses and others. So let's say that you're with Garrett Real Estate, one of the 200 plus men, all right? Or my good queen from Hampton University, Chandra Patterson. You know, you can find mentoring programs like the Golden Fold mentoring program in Virginia Beach, Virginia. You can find juice bars. So we have a number of categories, and the categories are growing every day. And we want to make sure that we can make our money circulate. All right. So, hey, that's just a little bit about the HR Green Book, one of the new initiatives that I'm involved in. It is a collective, an online and cell phone collective of our businesses here in the Hampton Roads area. So, Dan Trez, next time you come back to HR, you come back to the 757, you can find all of our businesses on the hrgreenbook.com, and the cell phone app will be available in January.
I don't need to. I know where they all at, man. I already know. I know everybody. I already know everybody. So I just
it's a whole bunch since you left, man.
I'm gonna find out as soon as I go to the next one. I still look. We all word of mouth, man. That's how we did it back in the day. We still gonna do it today, right?
Yeah, and the word of mouth is hrgreenbook.com. That's hrgreenbook.com. Check it out. Hey, and you can list your business for free. You can list your organization for free. You can list your professional information for free. So we know where you are. We know how to get to you. We know how to make sure our money circulates stronger and longer. Dan Trez, last words, good brother.
Just peace. You know, it's been a while since I've been here. Thank you for bringing me back. And I know there's a lot of people that transitioned since last we spoke. So I just want to once again salute to the late great Baba Askia and the late great Mama Varner. Just, you know, I wish we had more people like them on the planet, because I know they made. I'm gonna just say this, Sekou, your family has always made me and my family feel welcome, loved, and I remember being a young family man, and they were really like encouraging. They were very encouraging. Like, hey man, you're doing the right thing. You know what you're doing. Your mom, especially your dad. Salute to them, and then Baba Askia too. So he really, as a dad, your dad and Baba Askia really like put me on. You know what I mean? So yep. So I just want to shout them out. You can find me on all your platforms. Just Google Dan Trez on me and you'll find me.
Dan Trez on me from the Where My Killer Tape At podcast. He's actually the brother that got me involved in podcasting, man. And I salute and I thank you for all the work you've done for the culture. Minister Zumbi, man, we're going to save you for last. We're gonna say you for last because we're gonna drop it. Conrad and Andrea. Conrad has the Beach Brothers show and does some stuff in the beach. But I'm telling you, they do some good stuff. So, like for instance, we recently had a election here in the Hampton Roads area, and this design for our city council palm card, Andrea was, instrumental and foundational in developing these. And so what we've developed are strategies. When that candidate shows up at your house, you know what, I'm talking for you, Andrea. Go ahead and drop the juice. What does this do, Andrea?
Well, yes, when the candidate shows up at your house, knocking on your door, and they give you their spill, you say, well, that's wonderful. Well, what are you going to do with these agenda items? The Black community needs to be able to incorporate their power on agenda, because there are specific things that affect all of us, regardless of your economic status. This is a ethnic status, and we need to be able to use that collective work and responsibility and be able to utilize these things. So it talks about how to rectify issues that have affected the Black community specifically. It also talks about how to empower the Black community specifically. And these things are what you would rebut to a candidate coming to your door. And if they're not willing to do it, then you say, you know what, thank you very much for crossing my threshold, but I'm not giving you my vote. And if enough people say that to a candidate or candidates, then they will be able to adjust their agenda.
Absolutely. Another great thing that you've been instrumental in is creating these report cards. And this is an example of the report card for the city of Norfolk. This is Virginia Beach. And, we pulled together a criteria by which we're judging our elected officials. This is my podcast, the Get On Code Show. Hey, listen on Apple. You can find it wherever you find your podcast. And now to the man of the hour, our great author on the show, the Minister Zumbi, author of Gospel Afro-Nomics Theology. Tell us a little bit about your book, bro.
This book is about 23 years of personal research and experience in business. It is also what I call a Black economic blueprint for the 21st century and beyond. I'm already in the works for an expanded edition, which hopefully I'll have ready by this coming year. Some of the things I'll address in it, and we talk about this at the end of the show. One being a $20 revolutionary, where every African person commits him or herself to making a $20 purchase each week from a Black-owned business. We also talk about cultural tithing, where we take a dime out of every dollar and we give it to an African-centered institution. Okay. And then finally, your favorite is being a cop. I had to change the letters a little bit. Basically being a creator, owner, and protector of your content as well as your intellectual property, because that is the new real estate for the 21st century and beyond.
Okay. So Code Keepers, we did it. We did another one. And this time we took Marvel, we took Sony, we wrapped it all up, and we found ways to make our lives more empowered. So go out there, do some better things, make some better things, create some better things. And I'm going to say, Zumbi, drink your water. Hey. We love y'all. Peace. Yo, that was a great